Hi, I'm Stan Houston, and this changed the world. That's right, it truly changed the world, and it changes how you must market you and your business. Now, you call it a remote control, but it's far more than that, and it changed the world, and it affects you. And we're going to be talking about that today on You and Your Commercial for the Super Bowl on Marketing Life Coach. Thank you for your time. I'm Stan Houston, your Marketing Life Coach, and this program is The Marketing Life. How to live well, how to market you, how to grow your business. We believe that marketing is not putting dead trees out there. It's not about pushing your message out there. Marketing is indeed how you live your life, how you treat others, and how you perform at your very, very best. New and different and hopefully effective, fun ways of marketing you that are not only effective, but they help you have more fun and make more money as you grow your business in these difficult times. I want to thank you. Many of you wrote in to thank me for marketing life lessons from the movies, and particularly that program, The King's Speech, which truly is becoming one of the classic films, one of those award-winning films. And it was all about this. That's right. Even the king had to, even though he stuttered and stammered, he had to learn not to stutter and stammer, to speak in public, because as a leader, he had to face the microphone. And that's true of all of us today. We literally are going to have to face the people. We're going to have to face the microphone. We're probably going to have to speak to the camera. And what we're encouraging you to do, as I did last week, I want to challenge you. You've had sales training. You've perhaps had training in your product or the service that you sell. But I want you to invest in broadcast training, to become a broadcast marketer. There's a lot to learn, but we can kind of summarize it for you in some media communications theory, how to use the microphone, how to do audio communication, a la radio via internet, CDs, or whatever the case, how to use that thing right now, that camera, how to look into it, respond to it, use it in the most effective way to communicate engagement and energy and entertainment. That's right. It has to be fun. It has to be entertaining. And then use that as a way to attract people into your center of influence so that you can tell them what you do. And then make your mark, demonstrate how good you are, and have them do business with you. That's what we're all about here. Now, I tried to shock you by getting your attention right off the bat. You see, I know that if I don't get your attention with energy and some enthusiasm and perhaps a little bit of mystery, you're not going to stay long with the show. And that's why I said this changed the world. And indeed it did. Now, if you're as old as me, or maybe not quite as old, some of you, this is foreign to you. Years ago, there was no such thing. You call it a remote control, but it truly changed the world. Now, this is how people did television in the early days. There were about 3 channels, the major networks, CBS, ABC, NBC, and perhaps there was, if you lived in one of the larger towns, an independent network that kind of did whatever it did away from the networks. There you were. Now, what the executives who ran these things knew, that you came home, dad came home, probably mom had been home, the stay-at-home mom, the proverbial, it was the 50s, and they would have dinner, and then they would go and watch television. And they would probably decide on who do they want to see the news. Do they want to work with Frank Reynolds Walter Cronkite, David Brinkley. You see, you chose your news, and you better make that good. And then after the news program, you say, oh, you're sitting there in your chair, in your couch, on the floor, and then you would have perhaps a situation comedy that would come on right after the news program. And if you like that, that was good. So if they could have a good news program and a good funny show, you know what? For the most part, they had you for the rest of the night. You would just sit there and watch show after show that came along, unless there was some special show that you perhaps wanted to see. Because to change the channel, you literally had to get up, walk over to the TV, turn the channel. Then you had to go back and say, I don't know if I want to watch that. You had to get up again. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Perhaps you've done that, or you know how that worked. And then, bingo. This happened. Now, I could click, click, click. The commercial would come on, and it's boring. Click. The program came on. I can now click all around and check out what's on. And so no longer could the networks depend, the TV stations depend on the fact that I would sit there and watch that show for the whole evening until perhaps the 10 o'clock news, and then turn off the TV and go to bed, having watched the entire evening of programs that they had delivered. That was gone with this. As I oftentimes say, what this is not a remote control, this is a message selector. And it truly is today, particularly with the growth of cable and hundreds of channels. You can now choose. You don't have to watch or listen to what they have there. And you know what? You know exactly, because you do it all the time. The commercial comes on and you click. You notice sometimes that they actually run the same commercial right back to back. Sometimes you'll click and find the same commercial going on another channel. All of that is part of the strategy because this happened. And what happened is that television and radio had changed the way people do advertising, and they knew you only had 1 minute to tell your story. I'd like 20 minutes of your time to sit down and talk with you and visit with you and tell you what I do. That's what people say now. It used to be a half hour. It used to be 45 minutes. Can you give me an hour? Well, of course people aren't going to give you an hour or a half hour. You'll be lucky if they give you 20 minutes. What is true is because they have been raised on click and switch, most of the marketing messages that have come to them have been highly engaging, entertaining, and as I oftentimes tell people now today, you have 1 minute. That's right, 1 minute to tell your story. Now, let's have some fun with this. Let's learn from this. The Super Bowl is coming up. And we now know that millions of people all over the world watch the Super Bowl. But we also know is that many people are really watching it because it has now become not a football game, but a worldwide international TV show. And many people watch the show for the entertainment and for how creative are the commercials out there. And that has become the way to make your mark in the marketing world. I remember many years ago when a company called Apple broke through because on the Super Bowl they had an incredible 1 minute commercial which was world changing and obviously in many cases business changing. All of that has happened. Now, can I do this? I'd like to read you a little story. This is my book, You Make the Difference, and it's for financial advisors, and it's really for everybody on how to market themselves. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. Now, just be with me now for about a couple minutes. Be patient. Don't click and switch me, but get into the story. And it's called You Have Won. One day you receive a call from an attorney in a distant state. He informs you that he has some sad news and some happy news for you. You're somewhat shaken to hear this. What is it? He tells you that he represents the estate of your Uncle Joe. Yes, the estate. The sad news is that your favorite Uncle Joe has passed away. You ask when this happened, and he tells you that he died several weeks ago. You're shocked. Why wasn't anybody informed? And of course, at the same time you ask that question, you know the answer. Your Uncle Joe was your mother's youngest brother, very eccentric, and the proverbial black sheep of the family. He had never married, seldom returned to the hometown area. The relationships in the family were a bit strained for some reason. No one in the family ever talked about it, but it was rumored that Uncle Joe had gone away and had done quite well. The problem was that no one knew what he did or what he was up to. It was kind of a family mystery. Perhaps you've got some relatives like that. Nonetheless, you'd always liked Uncle Joe. You are a bit of a free spirit yourself. You've always sent him a card on his birthday and holidays and called him whenever you happened to be in his city. He was always glad to hear from you, and you would occasionally meet him at a cheap restaurant that he liked where he was obviously one of the regulars. The attorney explained that he had helped Joe with some business dealings and had encouraged him to do some financial planning, including setting up a will. Joe, of course, like everybody else, said he would, but you know, like most people, he never followed through. The attorney said that he had considered Joe not only a client, but also a good friend, and in fact, he was one of Joe's few friends. Several weeks ago, Uncle Joe had a fatal heart attack. No one knew if Joe had any family, so his employees arranged for a small memorial service and contacted the attorney. After the service, he went through some of Joe's stuff, found a key to a safety deposit box. He went through all the legal hoops and opened the box. There he found a simple handwritten will, which leads to the happy news. Uncle Joe has left everything to you, and it is a lot. It seems that Uncle Joe was somewhat embarrassed that his work was in the sanitation and junk removal business before it was called environmental recycling. Uncle Joe's business had thrived, and with good investing and modest living, it had made him very, very wealthy. And the good news is that he has left it all to you. Now, but before you begin to celebrate or do anything rash, the attorney explains that there's a strange catch to the whole thing. He explains that one of the things that Uncle Joe said in the will is that he admired you because you were an entrepreneur. You went out there and made it happen yourself. You took the risk of not finding some safe job in some corporate outfit. Uncle Joe wrote how much that meant to him, and he knew that it was not good for an entrepreneurial type to come into a lot of easy money. It just might ruin him. So instead, Uncle Joe has decided to give you an opportunity rather than money. He's purchased a number of 60-second commercials for you and your business on Super Bowl Sunday. Indeed, you have won the opportunity to tell the whole country about the work you do and the value and benefits you bring to the marketplace. But like every good commercial, you have no more than 60 seconds to tell your story. Now, what would you do? There you are. You've oftentimes said, if I could just reach people and talk to them and connect with them and get enough prospects, I could sell them. Here you are. You have 1 minute to reach people all over the world. Millions of people are going to watch you, and they're going to see you, and they're going to hear you. Well, what are they going to see? What are they going to hear? Now, you are not ready to do business in the 21st century unless you can answer this question. If you had 1 minute to tell your story, to make your pitch, to demonstrate how good you are, and you had it on Super Bowl Sunday. Now, that's probably not going to happen, but what would you do if given the opportunity to show your stuff, talk to people, connect with them? And it better be good, because please keep in mind, if you don't get their attention, they're going to click, they're going to go to the bathroom, they're going to go back to the chip bowl. What are you going to do when you have 1 minute to tell your story? Now, I'm going to begin to teach you a little secret here. And this is something which I oftentimes say, particularly in the financial services, in which I do a lot of work. There is financial malpractice. You see, when you do a commercial, you're basically following a formula that is good for a sales presentation, and it's also good for a speech, and it is the way you do a commercial. All right, and we're going to make it simple. I'm not going to use a PowerPoint because you don't need technology. I'm going to simply do this. I'm going to use a piece of cardboard. The first thing you have to do in your commercial is you have 3 to 5, maybe 7 seconds to get their attention. If you don't get their attention, they click and switch and go away. Then they'll go away unless you keep their interest. That's right. You have to keep them interested. So attention and interest. Now be thinking about your commercial. How will you get their attention? How will you keep them interested? All right, here we go again. D. You have to have something that will paint a picture of desire. That's right. You have to say something, show something, demonstrate something in which mentally they say as they smile. By the way, your commercial better make people smile. All good marketing makes people smile. They like it. It's fun. It's pleasant. It's memorable. It's not meant to educate people. It's not meant to instruct people. It's for them to say, that would be nice. That would be nice. I'd like that. Something that they say, I desire that. All right. How's it going? Now, then you have to do another D. You have to help them make a decision. You have to help them say, not only that would be nice, I'm going to get that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to buy that. They make a mental decision that they're going to move from desiring something to getting something. Big step. Then we finish up with a number and a letter. You all know what that should be. We call this the AIDA formula. And the final A is action. What do they need to do to carry out their decision? Do they need to dial 1-800? Do they need to go to the website? Do they need to go down to the shop? Teach them and tell them how they can take action. Because you got them. Now, here it is. You have to do all of that in 60 seconds or 30 seconds. Now, some of you are saying, Stan, it can't be done. My friend, it's done all the time. I do it all the time. You need to know we're not talking about some crazy elevator speech. Who gives speeches in elevators? You need to know 2 things. How would I do a commercial? And then based on that commercial, if somebody would ask me, what would you do? Or what do you do? Or how can you help me? You can tell them in 1 minute. If you can't tell your story in 1 minute, if you're not ready for a Super Bowl commercial, you are not ready to market yourself in the 21st century. Now you got that again? Hopefully you've written these down. And if you haven't, by the way, that's okay. We just happen to have a product that you can buy, which will give you more instruction on that. Guess what's coming up soon? Attention, interest, desire, decision, action. That's what you need. And whether you're giving a speech, whether you're giving a sales presentation, whether you're doing a 1-minute commercial, I don't care where you're at, whether you're introducing yourself at the Chamber of Commerce or your leads or a networking group, you have to have a 1-minute commercial. And by the way, watch many of the good ones. Many of these are literally in the form of a well-told story. Because you see, you don't necessarily have to shove it in their face, buy this. What you need to do is create a story that connects with them, and then they can discover the truth for themselves and take action. Because storytelling is the only real effective means of communication. So can you do it in a story? Think about that. Well, again, we're going to have some more information on that as we continue down the road here on the Marketing Life Coach. There you go. But guess what we're going to do right now? We're going to take a time out, and I have a good friend who's going to come forward and tell you a little bit about some of the things you can buy from the Marketing Life Coach to help you perform at your best and make your business. You're right. Right now it's time for our Super Bowl commercial. Give me about a minute or two, maybe just a minute, and then we'll be back to finish up with my challenge to you as to how you can start right now to have your own Super Bowl commercial.
The same things that you
Just continue to talk about the exact same thing.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We've got 2 hours to plan a 60-second Super Bowl commercial for Stan.
Stan who? Here's a great idea. How about if we put 2 talking heads on the camera and let them just pitch the product?
Now, I really liked Stan's segment, Fear Kills Everything, and there's got to be a way that we can incorporate something of that into our segment.
I disagree. We need a shot of a stuntman in a car blowing up to prove the point that pain is fear leaving the body.
No, Larry, that's not going to work.
You guys didn't like my first 2 ideas, so I've saved the best for last. You want an attention grabber? Let's put 2 naked elephants in a hot air balloon with chickens in tuxedos.
We're just going to have to put up a...
Well, there you go. Hopefully that's been helpful to you. Now, did you also notice something else? I didn't try to sell you in order to serve you. I tried to serve you and help you first. If I've done this program right, I have not only, told you a little bit about what I do and perhaps demonstrated how good I am, but I've helped you. And I've helped you in such a way that you would like to have more to do with me and my products and services. Don't try to find them and sell them and serve them so you can get names from them. That's the old way. Now, if you want to help people, you perform for them, you serve them in order to sell them. Again, as I oftentimes said on radio years ago and still do, just let that kind of sit on your head for a while. Now, let's have some fun this week, okay? When somebody says, "How's business?" or "What are you doing?" with a smile you say, "I'm working on my Super Bowl commercial." Say, "What? Are you going to have a commercial on the Super Bowl?" "Well, yeah, but it's not really going to be on the Super Bowl. It's going to be on my website." Have some fun with this. Make people laugh. Tell them you're working on your Super Bowl commercial. Who knows? Someday you might actually get, just like our friend who's in my make-believe story, had the opportunity to tell your story. And who knows when that might happen for you. So, are you ready? I want you to work on it. And I want to make sure that you order our program. Here's another kind of work it in pitch. Our entire program on really learning the AIDA formula. Be a master at that. It's worth your time, it's worth your investment, and I want you to become masters at learning the formula, the way you get your message across in the modern media today. So please take some time to do just that. Now, here we go. Why don't you actually do it? Perhaps you want to create a video on your website. That's right. Why don't you say, "Here's our Super Bowl commercial," so when somebody opens up your website, bingo, instead of having all that clutter and crap, and I'm sorry to use that word, but a lot of that's what it is, People will only spend about 3 to 5 minutes on your website if you're really good. Why do you have all that other stuff there? The purpose of your website is to get business. So why don't you create, sit down with your friends, your company, instead of doing that stupid strategic planning, which takes so much time and is so boring. How would you and your company put together your Super Bowl commercial? And then see if you can't find ways of producing it, putting it together, finding help. My friends at Bits on the Wire are really good at that, so check them out, and perhaps they can help you put that together. You see, you cannot market yourself and do business in the 21st century unless you understand the microphone, you understand the message selector, you understand that camera right there, and you can tell your story in 1 minute. Because, you know what? It's your turn in your town, and you're on with your Super Bowl commercial. And as we say in the performing business throughout drama and radio and TV, may it go well with you or break a leg. I'm Stan Houston, your marketing life coach, thanking you for your time. May it go very well for you, and indeed, bye for now.